In this video, I'd like to introduce to you some of the 3D modeling tools that we can use here in AutoCAD. What we've been working with is the 2D drafting and annotation workspace. At the very bottom right corner, you'll see
a gear icon that's just to the left of this lock icon. If you click on it, you'll see that there's a menu of different workspaces that you can switch to. This is one way of changing from drafting and annotation to 3D modeling. The other way is to click on, at the top left, this drop down that's under drafting and annotation, and let's go ahead and click 3D modeling. When you do that, you'll see that the ribbon changes completely. And I am using a combination of AutoCAD 13 and 14, so the user interface looks a little different. In 14, your command line only shows one line, and for most of the video, you're going to have this docked. You can actually dock it or undock it. But either way, your command line is down here and you'll be able to go through the same type of commands.
we have several shapes that we can draw automatically and different tools that we can use. We can create meshes. We have solid editing tools panel. We have our draw panel and our modify panel, which are very similar to the 2D panels. We can change different views so that we can look at isometric views. Right now we're looking at the top view. So the Z direction is coming out at us. So the first thing we'll do is change this 2D wireframe here to conceptual. And then we will change the view to the southeast isometric. So as we change to conceptual, we'll see that the icon changes its color and its appearance, and we also have what's called a view cube here that we'll be working with. Right now we're taking a look at the southeast isometric view. If you think of this UCS icon, Y is actually in the north direction and X is in the east direction. So if you think of the southeast isometric, we're actually looking at it from the southeast direction. We have several shapes that we can draw here very quickly. We can go to the box shape. If you left click in space here, you'll be able to pull your mouse away from that shape, and if you look at the command line, you're asked for the other corner of your box. You can then pull your mouse up and left click for your shape. So that's just picking points to create a box. If I needed to create a box that had specific dimensions, I could start the box command, pick a point, and then right click and pick length. If I use the length command, which you can see in the command line is one of my options, I can pull my mouse towards that X direction and type in the length. So here I'll type in 6 and enter for my length. And then I'm going to be able to pull my mouse towards here the Y direction. You'll be able to see that tracking vector we talked about in earlier videos. I can type in 2 and enter. And there's my shape that's 6 inches by 2 inches, and now my command line asks me for the height. I can pull my mouse up and type in here 4 and enter. So I just drew a box that was 6 by 2 with a height of 4 inches. We have other shapes that you can play around with here. Let's go ahead and pick the cylinder icon. With the cylinder, we'll be, in watching your command line, we'll be picking the center point. We'll be establishing our radius, which you could type in if you knew the radius here. Pull your mouse straight up and type in or click for the height. pretty fun and user-friendly. We can draw cones by picking a center point, a base radius, and then a height, and several other shapes here like the sphere, which is fairly easy to draw, the pyramid, which is just here the center point and a base radius with a height similar to the cone, a wedge, which will ask you your command line for your first corner, your other corner, and then the height of this this first point that I picked, that side. We also have a torus, which is kind of like a donut shape. You're creating a center point, a radius, and then how the radius of the tube itself. So if you're watching your command line, you'll be able to see here what AutoCAD is asking you for in these shapes. My favorite way of creating solid shapes is to start with 2D geometry. Sometimes it's better to draw the entire shape with 2D geometry and then use what's called press-pull to create a solid from that geometry. So I'll just start the line command and draw here a detail, any shape. And if I even had circles, which I'll go ahead and draw one. Here I'll just go ahead and click here. I'll right click and pick close, and then I'll draw a circle inside this shape. Now this is a 2D drawing that I could have started with. I can use the press pull command, one of my favorites, here, to move your mouse into the shape that you'd like to create a solid of until it highlights. Sometimes we have to pull our mouse towards the edge of it for AutoCAD to recognize it. You can then left click, and what AutoCAD does is it automatically finds the boundaries for you. At this point you can pull your mouse up and just type in whatever the height is. I'll type in 1 and enter. Even after you've placed your shapes, you can modify them by selecting the shape and then left clicking inside one of the triangular grips. You can pull your mouse in the direction that you want to modify that grip and type in a distance. So if I needed this cylinder to be 3 inches longer, I could type in 3 and enter. I can also here move the cylinder by using the square grip. I'll go ahead and left click inside the square grip. I'll be able to come to this corner here and left click here to place the cylinder at the back edge of this box. Okay, all of these shapes have those grips available to you, so you'll be able to modify them as you need to. I'll use the escape key to get rid of those grips. If you need to change the face to make one of the faces longer, you could use the grips to make that shape longer, or you can come back to press pull, and press pull, picking press pull, you can wait until that face highlights, left click, and then pull your mouse in the direction you want to go in and left click again. If we have two shapes that are next to each other, like this box and this cylinder, we have commands that we can use to here union those two together to make one piece. We can subtract one piece from another, or we can create the combined intersection of those two. So a union would just make a shape that would be the box and the cylinder together. Subtract would take out this cylinder from the box. So let's take a look at subtract. It seems like I use that command more than the others, even though union is used quite often. I'll go ahead and pick the subtract icon. If you read your command line, you'll notice that it says select the solids to subtract from. So we're actually subtracting from this box. So I'm going to select the box first and then press enter. And then your command line says here, select the solids to subtract. I'll select here the cylinder and then press enter. And notice here that you've got that curved wedge at the corner. Now, if you want to navigate around your drawing, you have a couple of choices. You can use the wheel of your mouse to still pan and zoom, but we have this view cube that's very helpful here. And you'll notice that as you put your pointer close to any edge of this view cube, the color changes and shows you here what edge you would be viewing if you left clicked on that edge. So I'm going to, for instance, pick here the top view and see that I'll be able to scroll over to that top. Oh, there we go. Now if I wanted to go back to the southeast isometric view, I could pull my mouse towards that bottom right corner, and you see that small light blue color appear? When you left click, AutoCAD will instantly go to the southeast corner. You can also hold your left mouse button down here on this this compass, the north, south, east, west circle that's around the cube. Hold your left mouse button down and drag your mouse from left to right so that you can kind of rotate around those objects. As I'm drawing these shapes, notice that my UCS icon in the bottom left corner here always stays so far with the X and the Y plane being the flat surface that we're working within. So when I draw a cylinder here and I pick a point, as I pull my mouse here out to establish the radius, notice that I'm actually drafting on that XY plane here, and then I'm establishing a height. What if I wanted to draw the cylinder on this face so that I can create here a hole that goes, or a cylinder that goes back into the box and then subtract it? Well, there are several ways of rotating the UCS icon so that you have the XY plane against this face, so that when you start drawing, you're drawing the circle on the face and not here in the flat surface. One of my favorite tools is in the status bar. It's an icon that looks like it has a lightning bolt in it. It's called Allow and Disallow Dynamic UCS. I'll go ahead and left click on that icon, making it blue. And what that icon does is it helps us to find the face and rotate the plane, the working plane that we're working within automatically. So I'll start the cylinder command, and then just rest your pointer here on this front face, and notice here that the front face highlights. I can then left click, and you see what it does is it takes the UCS icon and temporarily rotates it onto that face. Notice that the X and the Y are now on the face. The Y is pointing up and the X is coming towards the right side. And as I pull my mouse away from that center point that I picked for the radius of the, or the center point for the base, I can see that I'm establishing the radius. I'll go ahead and left click, and now my height is not up anymore because the plane's been rotated, the surface is rotated. I can pull my mouse here back and left click. So I ended up with here a cylinder that's actually inside the box. It doesn't look like it is, but if I rotate my view around, you'll see that it's actually here coming out of and a part of that box. Now I can subtract the cylinder from the box. I'll start the subtract command, select the box and enter, and then select the cylinder and enter. And there is a hole here within the box. Let's take a quick look at fillet in Chamfer. It's very similar with 3D. In fact, you use basically the same command. Here in the modify panel, I'm going to go ahead and pick fillet. I'm going to select the edge that I'd like to fillet. Notice that it's highlighted here. And then my command line says enter the fillet radius. I'll type in 1 for 1 inch and enter. You're asked to select the edge, but we already have it selected, so just go ahead and press enter and you've got the fillet here on the corner of the solid shape. Notice the lines that show up from the bottom. When you use the press pull command, you're still maintaining your 2D geometry and creating a solid shape from that 2D geometry. Let's take a look at the chamfer command. Here I can start the chamfer command, very similar to the 2D chamfer. The only big difference is that you're creating in chamfer from an edge and you have surfaces. So here I'm going to select the edge that I'd like to use, and it will actually select one of the surfaces, either the top surface or the side surface. So I'll go ahead and press enter. Specify base surface chamfer distance. I'll type in here 1 and enter. And then specify other surface chamfer distance, which will be this top surface distance. I'll type in 3 and enter. And now if you look in my command line, it says select an edge. The edge that I'm going to select is here at this corner, and then enter. And notice that I have a chamfer that's from this corner 1 inch on this right surface and 3 inches back here on the top surface.